Okay, Guruve Gaurachanda Radhikaya Tadali Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I give pranams to our Gurudev, Om Vishnupad Sri Srimati Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Rupanuga Guru Varga, all devotees, Dandavad, pranams. So we're trying again. Okay, I'll just stick to the iPhone in future. So, today will be the last class of our Jaiva-Dharma. But a little bit we have to finish the end of chapter 39, where finally Vijay asked about the responsibility Mahaprabhu gave to different Vaishnavas. So Gopal Guru Goswami explained there are two paths that Mahaprabhu gave, the Antapath, the internal path, and the Bahirpath, the external path. The Bhajan path or the Antapith that was given by Mahaprabhu to Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami gave that to Raghunath Das Goswami. And the external path, the Bahirpath, the path of Archan, that was given to Vakushva Pandit, to Gopal Guru Goswami, then to Jyan Chandra. In this way, two lines came, the path of Rag and the path of Vaidhi. Both are there in Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya. So Gopal Guru Goswami explained how he gave the responsibility of preaching Nam Tattva to Nityananda and to Sri Advaita. Also to Sanatana Goswami he gave special responsibility of explaining the relationship between Vaidhi and Rag Bhakti, and also to explain the relationship between the Prakat and the Aprakat Leela. Okay, that was also a responsibility given to Sanatana Goswami. Then Mahaprabhu, through Nityananda Prabhu, empowered Jiva Goswami to establish Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. Also, Ramananda Roy was given the responsibility of expounding Ras Tattva. Sarvabhaum, our Rupa Goswami, was given also the same responsibility. Then also Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya was given the responsibility of establishing Tattva Siddhanta. Jiva Goswami was also given responsibility of establishing the Tattva. He protected the writings of Rupa and Sanatan, the conclusions of the Goswamis. Mahaprabhu had so many followers in Bengal. Then they were given the responsibility of illuminating Gauda Tattva in the hearts of all jivas, and also to establish Shraddha in Krishna Bhakti that Mahaprabhu came to distribute. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was given the responsibility of preaching the Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was given the responsibility that there should be no neglect of Vidimag, right? And also preserving the supremely pure and transcendental Sringar Ras from any distortions. Prabhupada Saraswati, the guru and uncle of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, was giving the responsibility of informing the world the highest achievement is to cultivate spontaneous, loving attachment for Braja Bhakti, for Braja Ras. So now we'll finish chapter 40 today. The Supreme Wealth. Vijay pondered deeply and thought, hearing about Braj Leela, a greed has awakened in my heart to enter this Leela. I will gradually attain the stage of complete success, Sampati Dasha. He therefore concluded he must know about the nature of this gradual development. Thinking thus, he approached Gopal Guru Goswami and humbly inquired, I need to know the various stages that the devotee undergoes, beginning from the stage of hearing to the stage of Sampati Das, complete perfection. 5 dasa means condition, stage, right? So there are 5 dasas. Not das means service, but 5 dasas. Dasa here means stage, right? So there are 5. The first is Shravan Dasa, the stage of hearing. Then Varan Dasa, the stage of accepting. Then third stage, Smaran Dasa, the stage of remembering. Then the fourth stage, Bhavapan Das, right? The stage of spiritual ecstasy. That is also called Surup Siddhi, when one fully realizes one's Surup. And 5, Prem Sampati Dasa, the stage of achieving Vastu Siddhi or Prema. So 5 stages we will have to go to. So what is the first, or Shravan Dasa? When the jiva develops ruchi for hearing Krishna Lila, it should be understood his aversion has been removed. His aversion to Krishna Bhayadmukata. His causeless aversion to serving Krishna has been removed when he develops taste in Harikatha. Many devotees you see many years, but Harikatha, they sleep. Harikatha, they find something else to do. They can serve day and night, but they cannot hear Katha. No. So Katha is mainly bhakti, hearing Katha. At that time, an intense greed to hear Katha awakens in them, especially from a devotee who is more advanced than themselves. Bhagavatam describes Tasmin Maha Mukarati Madhubicharitya Piyusasesha Sarati Parati Shravantam. No, the nectar of Katha is coming from the devotee's mouth like a river, and the devotee has so much greed to hear that Katha. Okay? Teye pibante avitiso nipagari kane tenash vishet asana tridvaya sokamaya moha. The devotee becomes so much satisfied by hearing Katha, they become free from hunger, thirst, lamentation, fear, illusion, and all other things crossed just by having taste in Katha. But those who are averse to Krishna sometimes also hear Katha. What is the difference? There is a vast difference between the hearing of Krishna Katha in the state of aversion and Shravan in the state of being inclined towards Krishna's service. The Shravan of those who are against Krishna takes place by accident and not because of their Shraddha. Such Shravan gives rise to Sukriti, and when that Sukriti has accumulated over many times, many lifetimes, it gives rise to Shraddha or faith. At the stage this transcendental faith is awakened in the heart, Shravan of Krishna Katha from the lips of saintly personalities is called Shravan Dasa. Therefore Gurudev would say in the 8 stages of devotion, Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sanganatana Vritti Nishta Tata. In this verse, Gurudev first is association, Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sang. So before faith comes Sadhu Sang. And by associating with sadhu, then one develops faith. Then again one will do sadhu sang, but this time with faith. So same thing Guru Maharaj saying, same thing Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining here. There are 2 types of Shravan Dasa, the stage of hearing. One, the first is unmethodical or irregular. That is called Kram Hin Shravan Das. That means hearing without proper sequence. And the second is methodical hearing, or that hearing with proper sequence. Kram Sudha Shravan Das. What is the first one? Kram Hin Shravan Dasa. Kram Hin Shravan Dasa is hearing Krishna Lila in an irregular and unmethodical manner. This type of hearing does not give one's position in the Lila. But the second type of hearing, Kram Sudha Shravandasa, hearing systematically, means when Krishna Lila is heard methodically in a regular order with fixed intelligence, that time Ras can awaken in the heart. Like we hear Vijay, so much systematically hearing one tattva after another, eventually he entered into the path, the Rasamarg. When one hears the Astakali Lila separately from the Naimitic Lila, then his Shravan is Kram Sudha. So that means hearing the Astakali Lila, that is Kram Sudha Bhakti, Kram Sudha Dasa. Okay. If one hears Krishna Lila in the proper manner, the sweetness and charm of the Lila is gradually conceived, and the inclination to perform Raganuga Bhajan appears in the heart of the listener. No? Therefore, again and again we hear stress the importance of hearing. No? By hearing, the heart is purified of anarthas, then one's eternal relationship with Krishna is awoken. At that time he thinks within himself, oh, Subal has such a wonderful friendship, Sakyabhav, for Krishna. I will also render service to Krishna like Subal in Sakyaras. This type of strong affinity is called Lobha, greed. The performance of Krishna bhajan with such greed, following the sweet bhavs of the Brijabasis, is called Raganuga Bhakti. This is like a summary of all the previous chapters. I have given the example of Sakyaras, but this type of Raganuga Bhakti is also performed in all the four rasas beginning with Dasya. No, some so-called followers of Gurudev explain, no, Mahaprabhu only giving one ras. And only one ras, Manjari Bhava's Rupanuga. But we again and again we find this idea is not given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Actually, it was not given by Gurudev. Gurudev just gave some stress to Manjari Bhav, but he not said other bhavs are not included in this sampradaya. By the grace of Nimananda, of Nimai, Lord Chaitanya, you have a natural disposition for Sringharas. Because you've heard about the Brajagopis, exceptional bhavs and service towards Krishna, the greed to render Prem-moy seva to Krishna, like them, has appeared on your heart. And that very greed has bestowed upon you the path to obtain that transcendental seva. In reality, this Shravan Dasa is the confidential conversation between Guru and disciple. Okay, so Shravan Das means what? Hearing all these things. No? Confidential moods, confidential seva, no confidential discussions with Gurudev about the Surup, especially in regards to that ras which you have greed towards. This is all called, yes, one drop of Braja ras. This is all called Shravan Dasa. When is Shravan Das complete? Shravan Dasha complete? It is complete when one realizes Krishna Lila is eternal. When Krishna Lila complete, your seva in that Lila, that mood completely captures your heart. That time Gurudev explains the Ekadas Bhav, the 11 moods, the 11 symptoms of the soul, the 11 attributes of the soul. No, we heard yesterday, including your eternal name, seva, your eternal dress, your eternal residence, no, your eternal sambandha, right? Your padakaswad, your ultimate aspiration, your seva, all these things. This Ekadas Bhav, this is really called Shravan Dasa. This is also called Siddha Pranali, right? When the disciple, Shravan Das should be complete when the disciple's disposition of mind is imbued with the loveliness of the Lila. Means, what is my seva in that Lila? That is the meaning. At that time, the disciple is afflicted with intense eagerness and attains Varandasa, the stage of acceptance. So first is hearing, and when the disciple said, this is mine, he fully accepts these 11 moods, his eternal mood. This is called Apandasa. Apan means Varandasa. So Varana means to accept. Okay. Please tell me about Varandasa. When the spontaneous attachment of the heart is bound in the lila by the shackles of Ekadas Bhav, the disciple becomes overwhelmed and falls at Gurudev's feet weeping constantly. At that time Gurudev manifests in the form of a Saki, and the disciple manifests his Swarup as her attendant, also as the form of a Saki. Of course, if one is in Saki Ras, Gurudev will manifest as a Saka, and you will also manifest as a Saka. If you have agreed to Vatsalya, Gurudev will manifest as a follower of Nandi Yasoda, you will also manifest like that. No? This is Achintya, the inconceivable tattva of Gurudev. Of course, Gurudev may be perceived like that according to the mood of the disciple, but Gurudev also has his individual mood. Therefore, Gurudev would tell the disciples of Swami Maharaj, you should meditate on him like Manjari. But Gurudev never said he is Manjari. There's a big difference between the two. Okay, so this is called when one has darshan of the Swarup of Guru. Now, because we have material vision, we see Gurudev is Bengali, Gurudev is Bihari, Gurudev is old, Gurudev has this disease, Gurudev has this problem. We see like this. Because now we are full of anatas, but at the stage of Varanadasa, when all anatas finished. No, this all occurring in the stage of Bhav Bhakti. No? That time he has no more anatas, so he sees the Swarup of Guru. That time he also, which eyes he sees the Swarup of Guru? Not these eyes, but the eyes of the Swarup. Therefore he also sees himself. So in simple language, Varandasa means darshan of yourself, darshan of Guru. So first hearing, developing greed, then one by one he gets these 11 moods. When they're fixed and he cannot live without realizing, that time he can see Gurudev's Swarup. He can see the form of Gurudev. Okay. So Gurudev is a Brajalalana who has reached the perfectional stage of this seva. Right? At that time the disciple humbly prays to Gurudev with the following words. No? If you read also a nice book where you can read all these moods, that is found in Bhajan Rahasya. No? What a devotee should feel according to his corresponding stage, that is all given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he prays, O Gurudev, I am most degraded, holding a blade of grass between my teeth. I fall at your lotus feet with utmost humility. No? Please give me seva of the divine couple under your guidance. You are very merciful. You never see who is qualified or unqualified. You give mercy even to wicked persons. Therefore, do not deprive me of your causeless grace. Please give me the service of Radha Krishna and the shelter of your divine lotus feet. No, this is from Premambuj Makarandaya Stavaraj. This type of prayer is typical of the devotee in the stage of Varandasa. At this stage, Guru Rupasaki gives the sadhak the order to engage in Astakala Lila Smaran. Right? Very important point. I am full of anatas, I sleep when I chant japa, and that is not qualification for Astakala Lila Smaran. When one realizes one Swarup, then Guru orders, now you remember. Now you do that seva, that is the third stage called Smarandasa, the stage of remembrance. Wow. It's a very high thing. Rupa Goswami explains the devotee's attitude at the third stage of Shravan, of Smarandasa. We heard this verse again and again in Jaiva-Dharma. Krishna smaram janam chasya prestitam nijasamyatam tat kata ratas chasya kuja vasam braja sada seva sadaka rupana siddha rupana chaturhi tad bhavata lipsita kaja braja lokanu sarata Shravanot kitanadani vaidi bhakti uditani tu yani angani chetanyatra vigyayani manishibi. This from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The sadhak should constantly remember Sri Krishna along with his beloved eternal associates. he should absorb himself in hearing and chanting their glorious pastimes. He should stay in Braj. If one cannot stay in Braj physically, one should stay in Braj by mind. Some people are so unfortunate. Again and again we told them, come to Braj, but they go to Mexico. How much they're unfortunate. They engage in Maya there. They're going the opposite direction. So, the Seva Sadhaka Rupana, those who develop greed for Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatmik Bhakti, will render service following the residence of Braj internally in the mentally conceived spiritual form, the Antas Chitta Deha, Antas Siddha Deha, Antas Chitta Yukt Siddha Deha, many ways to say. Inside they render service remembering their internally conceived spiritual body, that is the path of Ragmarg, and externally they follow the path of Vaidhi Bhakti by hearing and chanting. And third, those who are well versed in transcendental knowledge know full well that all the various limbs of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtan, should also be practiced in Raganuga Bhakti. Okay? So externally he performs Shravan Kirtan, and that Shravan Kirtan, the effect of that is experienced inside. Okay, this is all in the third stage. Okay. And some Mexicans, we tell them again and again, come, and they never come. Mukunda. So, third stage, all these things practiced. Actually, according to Jiva Goswami, it means the sadhak should reside physically in Brajamandal. In other words, the pastime places of Radha Krishna. If he cannot stay in Braj physically, he should do so mentally. No. We stay in Braj, but there's our mind in Vrindavan. Many people know. So the result of remembering Vrindavan mentally is the same as physically residing there. A sadhak should follow in the footsteps of a particular Saki whose loving bhavs has attracted him. He should reside in Vrindavan with the Abhiman, the self-conception of being a Brajagopi, a Kunja Sevaka. He should constantly remember Krishna and the bhav of that Saki, serving Krishna under their guidance. With his gross body, this is called the Bhajan Deha, the sadhak should perform the angas of Vaidhi Bhakti such as hearing and chanting, Parikram, Ekadasi, all these things, Dandavat, Pranams, all these limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti. We heard 64 limbs of Bhakti. With his subtle body he should constantly remember the Astakali Lila and render his assigned service as a Siddha Braj Gopi according to the Akadas Bhavs he has attained. This is all in the third stage of Smarandasa. We are not qualified for that now, but we should know that such things are in our sampradaya. Outwardly, the sadhak should follow all rules and regulations. Internally, he should cultivate the moods that nourish his siddha deha, right? One who follows this procedure will develop detachment from anything else except for Braj. What is the real meaning of Braj Bhas? Means to stay with transcendental mood, aprakat bhav. I am sannyasi, I am brahmachari, I am grihastha, I am Mexican, I am Russian. No. Mahaprabhu said, Britta Britta Parichajaka Brittasya Brittati Smaralok. Always remembering I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the beloved of the husband of the gopis. And I am the servant of the gopis. Okay, to stay in Braj with that mood, one Siddha Deha, that is called Brajabas. Okay. So who is real Brajabasi? One who stays with that mood, that is real Brajabasi. One who is born here may not be actual Brajabasi. Saraswati Thakur said, Kamsa was also born in Vrindavan, we cannot call him Brajabasi. He should regulate all the activities of the body so they become favorable for seva, favorable for bhajan. Vijay Kumar said, Prabhu, I understand everything, but how can I fix my mind? Gopal Guru Goswami gives a beautiful answer. As soon as one achieves Raganuga Bhakti, the mind becomes fixed also. Always. Right? If you think you're a gopi, then what other thinking you'll have? But if you think I'm Mexican, then you can have many thinkings. no, or Australian, or male or female or any other mood except for Braj. If you think you are the body, then you have attraction for this world. If you have absorbed in Raganuga Bhakti, then you only have affiliation and attraction for Braj. In other words, the hankering of the mind for worldly enjoyment automatically ceases when it's enlivened with the inherent loving attachment of the self, and it runs after Braj. If you think you're a man, then you have many thinkings, but you think I'm a gopi, then the range of thinking is narrowed. Therefore the first anartha is Surup Brahm, misidentification, not understanding your own identity. This first anartha is the root of all the others. No, if you realize that you are Krishna's das, then all other desires will be finished. No? The mind chases after mundane enjoyment only because it identifies with it. But when this affinity is directed towards Braj, the mind becomes composed because of the absence of attachment for anything else. If any obstacles remain, why obstacles remain? Because we've been here for millions of lifetimes, so some obstacles will be there. One should adopt the gradual process. What's the gradual process? Every day we should chant a fixed number of Harinam in solitude, absorbed in a particular bhav, and keep his mind free from mundane thought. Slowly and gradually one should increase the time for this sadhana. And eventually the stage will come when the mind will always be saturated with alokik chinmaya bhavs, transcendental moods. At that time no mundane thoughts will come. How long should you follow this? Until the mind is absorbed. Keep following. How one can perform chanting of the holy name with bhav? Oh, 3 things you need, Gopal Guru Goswami says. Beautiful instructions here. Ulas, joy, no? Enthusiasm, joy, happiness when we chant. Then mamata, feelings of Krishna is mine, Radhika is mine, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gurudev is mine. And lastly, Vishramba, intimacy. So ulas, mamata, Vishramba. Joy, possessiveness, and intimacy. 3 qualities. In the beginning, the sadhak is simply superimposing these moods. In the beginning, in the stage of Shravandasa, even in the stage of Asakti, no? Then Bhav Bhakti, still some superimposition is there, even the stage of Shravandas and Varandas. But in the stage of Smarandas, there's also some superimposition. No? Until the stage of Bhavapan, that Surup manifests, so he doesn't have to arope, means imagine anymore. Not imagine is not a good word, but what to do, arope, superimposition. So the stage of Bhavapan, he doesn't have to do any more superimposition. Still he's using his intelligence even in this stage. But at the stage of Bhavapan, when Shravan Dasa matures, that time, that is also called Surup Siddhi, or realization of one's eternal spiritual form. Okay. Another name of that is Prema. That time no need any more arope. This is the gradual sequence. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if mind is distracted, you can chant like this, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or at least go in a solitary place and close your eyes and chant. Then 16 rounds, then 32 rounds, then 48 rounds, then 64 rounds, then 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh. Bhakti Gurudev said, one day we have to become like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, about like Haridas Thakur. This is Upasyanista. This is all Upasak Nista, we heard. Realization of oneself. And Upasyanista, that is fixed realization of the object of worship, Mahaprabhu Radha Krishna. Then that is explained by Raghunath Goswami in Manashiksha. Yad ichavasam brajaburi pratijanma sarago yuva dandam tachet parichadatam arada bilasa. Birth after birth. If you want to stay in Vrindavan with rag, and if you want to serve the divine couple with attachment, then very clearly and distinctly offer pranam with affection to Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, the other 6 Goswamis, and the Rupanuga Vaishnavas. This is how you achieve upasya, nishta, faith in the divine couple, realization of Radha Krishna. Okay, the idea is, be careful. Do not think, I will directly be with Krishna in Madhurya Ras. If you do that, then you will have to go to Dwarka. You should perform bhajan maintaining the spiritual ego of pure Parakya Ras, according to the conception of Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Even in the stage of sadhana, when the bhavs are simply imposed, one should only adopt the pure Parakya bhav. Okay? I want to give an example of imposed. Like, what's an example? Like a student, he goes to medical school, he does his 4 years, he does his 5 years, he passes his exam, then he goes to the hospital. In English we call residency. It means he's there in the hospital working, but under the guidance of the other doctors. That time no one's going to give him a scalpel and he's not going to do any operations, but still he has the abhiman, I'm a doctor. But actually he's just a practicing doctor. So all this we hear, superimposition of the mind. Imposition means at the stage, these high stages of Ashakti even, the first 2 or 3 stages of this Panchadasa, Shravandasa, Varandasa, even Smarandasa, still he hasn't fully realized his Swarup completely. But he has greed for it. He has some realization of it, but not fully mature. That's some example. No? So even in the stage of sadhana, when the moods are imposed, even that stage one should adopt fully Parakya Ras. If the sadhak imposes the Parakya bhavs, Parakya Rati will manifest, that is Bhav Bhakti. And Rati, remember, that is the sthai bhav of Bhakti Ras. So to enter, you need that stage. And then Parakya Ras will eventually manifest from this Parakya Rati. This indeed is the Nitya Ras of Braj Prakat Leela. Okay, very, very high things. Therefore, before Lord Chaitanya was Bhakti, before was Bhakti, but no Bhakti Ras. So what is Bhakti Ras? We're hearing all these things. Oh, Pete, maybe you could ask Sita to write to me. One devotee is there. What is the process of hearing in sequence the Astakaliya Leela? Again, we're hearing the Kram Sudha, going back to that. What is the process? Okay, Gopal Goswami continues. Okay, we've got a few more pages. Krishna Leela is completely transcendental in all respects. It is a sweet ocean of ras, an ocean of nectar. This ocean is unfathomable. Ocean is salty, ocean has waves, sharks, and other things, but this bhakti ras, no limit, no dangerous waves, no salt, just nectar in the beginning, middle, and end. But still this Krishna Leela is so incomprehensible for the souls of this world, because they have so many other attachments. Therefore no description. It is very difficult for the souls of this world to penetrate this mortal realm of earth, water, fire, air, ether, intelligence, the mind and senses. Very difficult to transcend that and have access to Suddha Aprakat Tattva, the pure transcendental reality. But this Aprakat Ras, Krishna Leela, the abode of Sri Krishna, is so astonishing. No? So wonderful. If one has been enlivened with apricot ras, who realizes this transcendental nature and who has fully realized it, still it's impossible for them to describe to someone else what they are realizing. His description cannot be flawless or complete because description depends on words, and words are incapable of fully expressing that transcendental reality. Therefore, a liberated and perfected soul, he has problem describing it, and who will understand? No? Like selling mirrors in the land of blind men. Who will understand? Who will purchase? But what to speak of even a liberated soul? Even Bhagavan himself describes the transcendental apricot ras, the transcendental realm. The listeners themselves, because of possessing many defects, will not understand his words anyway. Even Krishna himself describes, who will understand? Right? Krishna described himself in Bhagavad Gita, but they still tried to kill him. Even Krishna himself explains something, who will understand? Consequently, it's very deep, very difficult and very rare to enter into Bhakti Ras. However, when one is situated in a neutral state on the shore of that ocean, he can describe something. One who's in the ocean, he cannot describe. But one who's on the shore of the ocean in a neutral state, he can describe something. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You see, that's why Lord Chaitanya not wrote any books. What he will describe, fully his condition, what he's tasting, completely indescribable. But some devotees like Rupa Goswami and others, they're on the bank and watching, and they're describing something. Guru Maharaj would describe like that also. So Vijay asked a nice question. If it's so inconceivable, then how can anyone attain it? Madhurya Ras is unfathomable, matchless, and difficult to understand. This is the very nature of Krishna's pastimes. However, Krishna is also very merciful. He has two qualities by which we pin our hopes on. He is Sarva Shaktiman. He can make the impossible possible. No? And he is also Ichamoy. What he wants, that will happen. Right? Therefore, by his sweet will only, Krishna does not need anything else. When Krishna desires something, that will happen. And even if Krishna desires an impossible thing, that will also happen. So these two qualities are our saviors. Can you remember them? Ichamoy, Krishna possesses an independent desire, and Agatan Patsiya Shakti. What he wants, that will happen, because he possessed of unlimited potencies. Therefore, by his sweet will, he can make his esoteric leelas manifest in this mundane world, although they are unlimited, unfathomable, and difficult to understand. This mundane realm is very insignificant and petty, but Krishna is the supreme autocrat. When he desires these pastimes manifest in this world, by his causeless mercy it does so. One cannot use argument or logic in this subject matter, because it's beyond that. Even the demigods or the human beings cannot understand Bhagavan's inconceivable potencies, which make the impossible possible. Okay, so Vijay asked, if the Prakat Leela, Krishna's pastimes in this world, and the pastimes in the spiritual world are the same, how can you say one is superior to the others? Goswami says undoubtedly both are the same. The Leela that is manifest here exists in its entirety in the transcendental realm. However, from the point of view of the conditioned souls, in the stage of sadhana for the practicing devotee, the pastimes here appear in a certain way, a different way. But in the stage of bhavapan, in the stage of achieving of bhav bhakti, his realization of Krishna will be perfect. Right? For example, now I'm here in Vrindavan, but what am I perceiving with my senses and mind and what we are perceiving? Question comes. O Vijay, you are eligible to hear this subject, so I have no hesitation in speaking to you. One attains the stage of bhavapan after performing remembrance or smaran dasa for a long time. Bhavapan dasa is the fourth stage. During this stage of smaran dasa, remembrance, right? He becomes free from all pollution, all polluted moods, all mundane experiences. At that time, realization of his eternal nature appears. Sudha Bhakti manifests on the senses of the transcendental soul in the sadhak's heart according to the degree of his appropriate practice. And that bhakti attracts Krishna himself. So in the stage of Smaran Dasa, the third stage, all impediments are destroyed completely and he achieves Bhavapan. That is also called Sarup Siddhi, or the fully maturing stage of Bhav Bhakti. In the Brahma Samhita it says, Pramanjana Charuteya Bhakti Valochanena Santa Sadev Hridayesu Vilokayantim Yat Shama Sundaram Achinte Gunasurupam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. When one's eyes are decorated with the ointment, the medicinal ointment of love of Krishna, that time one can see Krishna inside and outside of everything. What stage is this? The stage of Bhavapan. That is also called Surup Siddhi. At that stage, the faculty of transcendental vision appears. Why? Because he realizes his transcendental form, his transcendental Surup. The Surupa has eyes, the Surupa has ears, tongue, hands and legs. That time he perceives Krishna Lila with the eyes of the soul. Right. The faculty of transcendental vision appears in the stage of Surup Siddhi or Bhavapan. That time you'll see Krishna's Lila, Krishna's pastimes as it is. At that time the sadhak can have darshan of his Sakhi and also Yuteshwari Radhika. If someone would tell Gurudev, I saw Krishna in dream, Gurudev would always say, false, impossible. You are not that level. What stage one can see all these things? In the stage of Bhavapan, Surup Siddha Bhakti, Surup Siddhi. Even after having darshan of Krishna, the sadhak's realization is not steady at all times until he achieves the stage of Sampati Dasa, Vastu Siddhi. That is the fifth stage, Sampati Dasa, or the attainment of Prema. At that stage, all his gross and subtle bodies are destroyed. In Bhavapan Dasa, the pure jiva has full command over the inert, gross and subtle bodies. However, the secondary result of Sampati Dasa, the stage in which Krishna's mercy is fully manifest, is that the connection of the jiva with his mundane world is completely cut. Someone's right, what about seeing Gurudev in dreams? Which Gurudev we saw in the dreams? Gurudev in his Sarup or Gurudev in this world? So that we cannot say, I saw Gurudev's Sarup. No, still, because we not saw ourselves, how we can see Gurudev? So in this fifth stage, that is called Sampati Dasa, all connection with this world completely finished forever. Bhavan Dasa is called Surup Siddhi and Sampati Das is called Vastu Siddhi, attaining Krishna, entrance into Krishna's Lila. How does one experience this Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes at the stage of Vastu Siddhi? After achieving perfection, how can you experience Krishna's Lila? Gopal Guru Goswami said, I don't know. When I get there, I'll understand. Therefore, Gurudev is saying this body cannot attain Prem. One who achieves Prem, he gives up this body immediately because this body cannot hold Prem. That's why when a high-class Vaishnava leaves, we don't say he dies. What do we say? He achieves Vastu Siddhi, he enters Nitya Lila. He entered the pastimes of Krishna. So even a Vaishnava's disappearance, what we call death, that is also a completely transcendental experience. A transcendental phenomenon. Okay, so Gopal Goswami goes, no one can answer that question, only someone who enters the pastimes of Krishna, they can understand this question, they will answer that question. But Rupa Goswami has given some symptoms of someone in the stage of Swarup Siddhi. That is there. No? Someone in the stage of Swarup Siddhi, there may be some remaining imperfection or misconduct of even those who have achieved the stage of Bhav. But still one should not be envious of them or attribute faults to them, because they have become completely detached from everything other than Krishna. So even in the stage of Swarup Siddhi, there may be some defect. We should not give any importance to that, because it cannot affect their Swarup. Okay? So Vijay said, if this is the case, why then Brahma Samhita and other books describe Goloka Vrindavan, if you cannot even realize it in this world in the stage of perfection? Right? Why attempt to describe the Leela of Krishna? So Goswami says, when great sadhus are situated in Swarup Siddhi, and when Brahma and other demigods so sadhaks who reach Swarup Siddhi, and when Krishna gives mercy to demigods and others, they can see Krishna's transcendental pastimes. And what they see, they try to describe through stavs and stutis, according to their eligibility. However, in such descriptions in scripture are limited, because this mundane realm has no proper words to express the transcendental bhavs, the transcendental Leela of Krishna. And we heard, what to speak of any demigod or perfected soul in this world, describing even Krishna, he himself describes, and who is there to understand? Besides, devotees who are not sufficiently advanced cannot fully comprehend these descriptions anyway. However, devotees have no need of these descriptions. They should just perform bhajan by taking shelter of the Prakat Leela in this world, and gradually they can understand according to their eligibility. And by this they will achieve all perfection. Those who perform bhajan in Gokul, this world, with Nishtha, will soon receive a spruti of Golok in their hearts. All the Divyas Leela of Gokul are also present in Golok, for in Tattva there's no difference between them. So in other words, don't worry too much about that transcendental world. That transcendental world, all the pastimes are manifest here, in this earthly Vrindavan. Do sadhan properly, and you can realize through this Prakat Leela. Okay? One should continue to perform bhajan and be satisfied with whatever realization of the transcendental reality is bestowed upon him according to your qualification. This is Krishna's instruction. Right? If we sincerely adhere to his instructions, in due course of time, he will surely bestow his mercy on us. Then we can have full vision of everything. Now Vijay became free from doubt in every respect. He fully awoke to his innate disposition. Right? We already heard he is Manorama Manjari. He skillfully dovetailed all the Ekadas Bhavs, the 11 sentiments of the soul. He skillfully dovetailed this in his service to Krishna. He situated himself in his bhajan kutir on the seashore. He became completely composed. He spent all his time relishing loving service to Radha Krishna. Meanwhile, Brajanath's mother left this world. That was Vijay's sister. And Brajanath returned back to Vrindavan, back to Navadvip. Remember, Brajanath had married already. Sakyaprem had arisen in his unalloyed heart, and thus he resided in Navadvip Dham in the association of all the pure devotees there, and performed his bhajan blissfully on the bank of the Ganga in Navadvip. Vijay Kumar, however, gave up his household life. He accepted the dress, the door and kopan of a renunciant. He maintained his life by madhukari, by begging, Mahaprasad. He remained fully absorbed in bhajan throughout the 24 hours of the day. He only took a little rest when Radha Krishna would take rest. And after they ate, he would also eat. When they were awake, he would render seva. All time he chanted Harinam on his mala. Sometimes he would dance, sometimes he would weep. Sometimes he would laugh. Who but Vijay could understand himself? Outwardly he took the name Nimai Das Babaji. He never engaged in speaking worldly topics. He was the embodiment of humility. His character was spotless. His determination in bhajan was unwavering. No, not like us. Sometimes we feel like doing, sometimes we don't. And if anybody offered him Mahaprasad or some cloth, what was necessary he would accept. Not more. While he was chanting Harinam, tears constantly rolled down his cheeks. His throat was choked, the hairs of his body stood on end. Within a short time he achieved perfection in his bhajan. And Sri Krishna gave him the merciful qualification to enter the transcendental abode of his own transcendental abode. Like Brahma Haridas Thakur, his bhajan deha, this body in which we do bhajan, that is called bhajan deha. Like Haridas Thakur, his bhajan deha was buried in the sand at Jagannath Puri. Hare Krishna. Beautiful. Let me just read these two poems of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. After striving for many days and carrying the mercy of Guru, Bhagavan and Vaishnava on his head, this lowly Bhaktivinoda Thakur has composed Jaiva-Dharma according to the pure conceptions of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. This book was fully complete in the month of Magh, that is January, in the year 410 of Chaitanya's era, 1896. That is the birth year of Bhaktivedanta Swami. He completed in Surabi Kunj in Godrum Dweep, on the banks of the Ganga in Navadweep. Those who desire the shelter of the lotus feet of Gauranga should read this book with faith. And here is very bad translation they have done here. The translation they wrote here, I take an oath, someone who has no development Shraddha for Mahaprabhu should not read this book. Come on, then why you wrote it? Very bad translation. That is wrong. The real meaning is, I take an oath that anyone who reads this book, they will develop faith in Lord Chaitanya. No. I told them this 2-3 years ago. Next edition they will update it. However, the dry jnanis, the muktivadis, can never attain the shelter of Krishna. But those endowed with Shraddha, faith, will gradually realize the esoteric aspects of Braj Lila. Okay, so Falshruti, the fruits of hearing. I hope everyone tried to hear every chapter. One nice thing about hearing, when you hear it, that is once. When you read it yourself, that's twice. So everyone who followed this course at least read Jaiva-Dharma 2-3 times. No, me also. So what's the result of hearing, reading? Bhagavatam says all other philosophies except for the Bhagavatam are cheating and deception. One should give up deceptive dharma and absorb his mind in true religion. In other words, one should give up the 4 goals of life, dharma, artha, karma and moksha. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter, with this body. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by simply impersonal knowledge. Nivashesh Brahmagyan. No, it's not enough. The Mayavadis think Krishna to be the subject of the subject. The Mayavadis think that Krishna is also subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death. They consider he is not transcendental. The Mayavadis reject Krishna's astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities and pastimes. Through this vicious attempt, they are left with the philosophy of nihilism, impersonalism, or nirvishesh Brahm. Such base and contemptible knowledge which arise out of this attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan. Right? If they say Bhagavan has no name, no form, no qualities, no pastimes, no arms, no legs, no eyes, no nose, they are dismembering his form. Such knowledge should be completely rejected. It is materialistic and should never be given credence to. Impersonal knowledge, which is solely related to this world, materialistic knowledge, science, etc., should be rejected. Whereas transcendental knowledge of the divine duality within the spiritual world, the specialities within the spiritual world should be accepted forever in one's heart. Right? In other words, that knowledge, the varieties of knowledge in this world should be rejected, but the knowledge of the spiritual varieties should be always accepted. The jiva is not a product of dull matter. Right? Consciousness is not attained by the combination of elements in the body. Nor is the soul completely one with Krishna in every regards. The soul is inconceivably different and non-different from Sri Hari. The material body should never be considered to be the self. This earth is not for the jiva to exploit and enjoy. The jiva's eternal nature is to be the servant of Krishna. He is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Krishna is the master and Krishna is the enjoyer. This book, entitled Jaiva-Dharma, neither discusses matters related to the dead material body, nor does it propound the Mayavad philosophy of complete oneness. The jiva's eternal nature is bhakti, devoid of material motivation. The soul, purified by service, attains the fruit of that service in the form of prema. One who reads Jaiva-Dharma with faithful deliberation will certainly attain pure devotion. But one who does not read Jaiva-Dharma will never attain bhakti. Faithfully reading Jaiva-Dharma will certainly strengthen one's abhiman as being a follower of Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva-Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. Right? Faithfully reading Jaiva-Dharma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga, a follower of Rupa Goswami. In this Jaiva-Dharma, all four rasas, Das, Sakya, Vatsala, and Madhur ras, have been described within the teachings of Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva-Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. One who faithfully reads Jaiva-Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti, and will surely realize the futility of speculative knowledge and fruitive activity, jnana and karma. Such a man or woman, being fully devoted to Radha Krishna, actually here's another nonsense translation, right? Krishna amala seva labi se nar sevasuk magra rai sada Krishna pa, right? The real translate, right, they have translated here, such a man, being fully devoted to Radha Krishna Yugul Kishore, and having attained their Prem-moy Seva, remains forever immersed in the bliss of Immaculate Seva. But problem is, it doesn't say here Radha Krishna Yugul Kishore. What does it say? Krishna Ramal Seva, Krishna's pure Seva. Das, Sakya and Vatsalya, they serve Krishna, they do not serve Radha Krishna. But therefore, again and again, these people who want to put their own mood into Gurudev's writings, Gurudev's lectures, they edit everything according to their own stupid mood. No? Where it says Radha Krishna here in the last verse, doesn't say, you look page 831. Krishna Ramara Seva, Krishna's pure bhajan. The person who fully devoted to Krishna's pure devotion and who had attained his loving service, that person will forever remain in the bliss of that of such immaculate loving service. Again, Sada Krishna Pa, they remain fully absorbed, fully attentive to Krishna's seva. People are always trying to, these old Shamarani, all these all trying to edit and change all Gurudev's books, no? How they'll get the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? And they don't want to admit their fault, no? Now they're so much dug themselves in that hole, they don't admit any fault. And they're misleading hundreds of thousands of people. Everyone thinks this is Narayan Maharaj, this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No, so that very carefully we have to study this book, very carefully, no? And the proper guidance, otherwise we cheated. Therefore Gurudev would say, no need to read many books, you just read this book 100 times. Okay, thank you, everyone who very patiently listened to my ravings. I pray Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if some fault was there, an explanation, he should forgive. Therefore Gurudev would say, no need to read many books, just read this book 100 times. So I just want to take little shelter, little rest, not rest, but just 1 week, because also so much tension I have to read, I have to study. No, but it has been very good for me. But we'll choose another book. I'd like to maybe do Brahma Samhita, because that book is very difficult, no? And I myself have not fully studied that book. So that is good for me also, will be good for everyone. So I don't know when we'll start it, because now is Purushottam month, everyone's busy. And Kartik, maybe, I don't know what will happen for Kartik. But thank you everyone for listening very carefully. And request everyone, don't give up. No? And all the 40 classes or whatever on Jaiva-Dharma are all there online. You can read them at your convenience. You can hear them also, will help you also in your understanding. Sachinandan Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Sikh Radha Lalit Madhav Ju ki jai, Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much everyone.